This chapter is absolute chaos from start to finish, and now we are truly experiencing the legend of God Valley in real time, following along with each of these legends as it unfolds.
However, just because of all the moving parts going on, each with their own individual objectives, we're going to try to keep it more focused on one group and clash at a time, just so things flow a bit more easily. So with that being said, let's jump right in.
And of course we can start with the title, A Love Ballad in a Hail of Arrows, which we don't actually see like rainfall of arrows in this.
There's a lot of weapons. I wouldn't say arrows really fit in, but it's more of a metaphor that he's going for here.
Yeah, it's symbolic. He's in his Rihanna bag. They found love in a hopeless place here. But let's start with our first conflict, being Dragon versus the Gods Knights, because while he is fleeing away from the scene with Shanks and Shamrock looking for some place to stow them away, to get them away from this chaos, Dragon is spotted pretty easily actually by one of the Gods Knights, and they have like what looks like a Frankie attack almost, with like a laser beam out of their mouth.
Yeah, I mean it almost looks like it grew in size or something, like just turned into a laser cannon and pew from behind. You didn't even see him coming, but I mean obviously they were tracking him, trying to find these kids, because go figure, you steal 2 children from one of the greatest Gods Knights, they're gonna catch on to that.
And we do actually get a name for this Gods Knight, being Saint Mafi, I believe is how it's pronounced.
Mafi, yeah, I don't know.
Mafi.
But of the Satchel's family.
Yeah, so another new Gods Knight family as well. And we don't really get a direct idea as to who they're talking to, but we do get an idea it might be another God Knight. It could just be someone subservient to Garling. But whoever it is, they're terrified and they need these kids back.
Understandably, because what they say is exactly correct. If Garland figures out that they let both of those children be stolen right under their nose, he's gonna kill them.
Yes. But Dragon is taken down, and when he is shot, it does seem like he drops the babies, with Shamrock being right next to him, and Shanks kind of flying out of field of view. So Mafi only picks up one child. And she does express some surprise that someone as cruel as Garling could actually create life in something so positive.
Yeah, which we can all agree on that. That is kind of insane to think. But Dragon's just laying there, broken, lamenting that this was my one chance to make up for the huge sin that I just committed in helping set up this disgusting murder game. And then he's kind of just resigning himself to, well, they got me. I'm about to get executed, and Mafi's about to throw this sword through his back.
We don't see Dragon as like the legend and feared figure we see today. At this point, he's a foot soldier.
Yeah, he's a cadet in the Marines.
And he's very, very lucky as well, because as he is ready to just accept his death, the conflict then begins between the Gods Knights and the Rocks Pirates, and nearly incidentally, as Whitebeard's just slashing his way through the forest, and happens to cut down Mafi as he does so.
Yeah, she's also very lucky that the Gods Knights have their regenerative powers, because anyone else in the world dies there. Literally sliced her in half.
And like we said, this isn't even like their intended purpose. He was just cutting her
clearing
down
the way
on accident. And we do see the continued theme as these pirates progress onto the island, that infighting in the Rocks Pirates is not only common, but pretty much a guarantee regardless of where they're at. But they're just so strong, it doesn't matter. Anyone around them just doesn't hold a candle to how powerful this group is.
That is, except for one man, the only true threat to any of these crew members really, but all of them even as a collective, which is Vice Admiral Garp, whose presence not only sends them scattering, but also garners one of the strongest attacks that we've seen from Big Mom at any point in the story. And I mean, she was one of the strongest characters, and this is something that she saved specifically for Garp. Just a gigantic fireball, and it does nothing.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen her combine with Kaido, but this is like Big Mom in her prime, using each of her most powerful homies on one man. And all he does is smile and say, yeah, that's not enough to cook my food.
That was so badass. Devilish smile while he's still smoldering.
Yeah, we have seen Luffy act in a very similar way too. But it's also very rare that you see Oda use swearing nowadays in the story.
Yeah.
And in the translation we have, Big Mom does let out a pretty big swear.
Yeah, I mean, every translation I've seen, it's at least, damn it. This is obviously, like, I don't think this has ever made One Piece before, but if there was ever going to be a time and a character, it would be Big Mom after just getting her best attack shrugged off by Garp in his pride.
Yeah, he's a demon. He's a terrifying person to run across. But because he has scattered them and broken up this conflict, in all that chaos, Dragon again stumbles across the baby that, luckily for him, Maffy didn't find.
Yeah,
just lying unconscious.
At first he thought he lost them both.
Yeah, so he comes across this baby lying unconscious with a big old welt on its head, and he realizes he still does have a chance to kind of redeem himself.
Yeah.
So he takes off again now and says, I'm going to at least save one.
Yeah, I can't do much about your brother at this point, but you're getting to safety no matter what. And I mean, he's even luckier then, because Maffy just kind of assumes, that was a crazy attack, got blown away herself. Just kind of assumes like, there's no way he survived that. I've got this baby. We're good. And I also find it interesting that whoever they're talking to on the Den Den Mushi, they either didn't understand when he said, I saved the baby, or like maybe they were waiting outside in a different room, because they don't seem to react at all. They're like, yep, bring him back. They seem to only be aware that there's one kid as well.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, maybe that's the reason we don't see Maffy in the story anymore, is Garling's like, where's the other one?
Yeah, that actually could be exactly what it is. Both of them end up dying for it.
So it's very possible this one mistake led to a lot of change up in the Gods Knights. But it also, like we said, gave Dragon that chance in the opening to take Shanks to safety away from all of this chaos and evil. And as a result, now it's kind of just becoming a conflict between Rox, Roger, and the Celestial Dragon stuck in the middle of it.
Yeah, and we do see some of the more sadistic Gods Knights, specifically Man-Mare, being like, yeah, there's pirates here. I'm still hunting too. I'm still playing the game and just gunning down still some more of the fleeing rabbits. But the majority of them are really starting to grasp how dire the situation is.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like we said, aside from Garp, nobody's holding a candle to these people, so they're very quickly getting sandwiched and succumbing to the power of these two crews coming towards them. Most of them pretty much fueled by horniness for Shakky too.
Yeah, that is kind of, it's all about Shakky. And whoever can save her gets her, is kind of the idea.
But kind of counter to what they're trying to do, when these two groups do actually finally make contact, of course there's massive shockwaves sent throughout when Roger and Whitebeard clash, but they also do kind of get in each other's way and impede each other from saving Shakky. That is aside from the one person who really loves her the most.
Yeah,
though.
And also shout out Roger for just kind of accepting that, all right, you gotta go do it.
Yeah, somebody has to do it. If it can't be me,
it's gotta be my boy.
But before we can get to that one man that's made it through all of this chaos, we have to go back and revisit Shakky herself and a one-on-one that she has with Sommers. Because Sommers, kind of in a cowardice way, is running away from the fray of all of this major conflict, and instead is kind of on a personal mission that he wants to confront Shakiyaku, but is surrounded by a bunch of knocked out Marines, so now he clearly has to take matters into his own hands.
Yeah, that's so funny. He walks in like, no way that one woman did all that, and they're like, I don't know what to tell you.
And he does really demonstrate how depraved he is. We've seen how sadistic he is, how much he gets off on others' pain, but in this short time, he not only devalues and degrades Shakky for knowing her own worth, smacks her around, and is one of the first people, maybe the first person we've seen to actually physically harm her with his weapon.
I think it is, yeah. Well, and it's crazy because she didn't even really say that much. All she said was, sounds like the pirates out there are really going crazy. Just kind of one little jab. And he's just, yeah, okay, we're beating her.
Yeah, the most twisted thing of all is he really relishes the fact, too, that he's like, man, I really want to kill you just to see how devastated all of the people fighting through hell are to see you dead.
Granted, she didn't do herself any favors when she, sweet chin musicked him, but
he earned it.
Yeah, he definitely earned it. And then the moment she does that, he just ramps it up like, yeah, all right, we're bringing out the spikes.
Yeah, he gets so confident, too, that he's like, doesn't matter who comes, I'll kill them. he begins like monologuing,
Yeah.
the biggest
True villain monologue.
downfall we've ever seen, about the cruel reality of life and how it's not a fairy tale and how he can't wait to see the hope drain from her just like her blood.
Yeah, this dude sucks.
He is so confident, and in a matter of a moment, it is washed away as soon as the Dark King arrives on the scene and pretty much tells him, I'm going to send you to hell.
Yeah. And I mean, you see it in his face, that kind of like, oh no.
Yeah, no, he messed up. All that confidence immediately sent down the drain as Rayleigh just sends him flying through the wall. He holds back nothing on this attack, and as soon as he's finished and he's commanded all this attention in the room, he finally turns his attention to the woman he loves and says, hey, I'm here, you're safe.
Yeah, and I love that we got that little flashback of the note that she left for him, because he kind of, sorry that I'm late,
Yeah.
I'm here for you now.
It's a little bit of unexpected plan, but I made it finally.
Yeah, I mean, obviously she's still pretty like torn up by what just happened, no pun intended. But overall, she kind of plays along with, dude, you're late, and I mean, they just embrace. It's a beautiful moment for those two, being that he was kind of stubborn about it first, but ultimately he wasn't about to let her die like that.
Plus, Rayleigh's a very stoic guy. We've only seen him literally cry with like Roger remembering him. Shakky's been very stone cold ever since we met her. It's just nice to see the two people feel safe enough to fall apart in the middle of all this chaos.
Because she broke through to him for sure, too. Yeah.
And while the remainder of the Roger Pirates are heartbroken that they didn't get the chance to be with Shakky themselves, they now have what they've come for, and it's time to get the hell off of this island.
Yeah, at least they think so. Don't think it's gonna be that easy, though.
No, we've seen more of God Valley than I think we ever expected, but it still feels like that big climax is still yet to happen.
Well, because one of the biggest takeaways is that Rox dies here.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we saw him very briefly at the start of this chapter, looking like, where's my wife, where's my son? I can't find them. I think he actually gave her a name, too.
Yeah, he's not even here for Shakky,
No.
like everyone else.
He is the one guy with very ulterior motives.
Yeah, I think her name is Eris.
Eris there, yeah.
So, there's still so much to come. Probably could be a lot more rocks focused in the next chapter. But while Shakky may be saved, there's still so many looming death threats for a lot of characters on this island. So some even more heated battles are very likely to come on the horizon. Be sure to let us know in the comments what you enjoyed most about this chapter and how much more of God Valley Oda is really willing to show us before we jump back to the present time in Elbaf. Like the video if you enjoyed, and if you haven't already, subscribe so you don't miss any of our future One Piece discussions in the future. And as always, be crew!